And here's where I'll be a little judgmental. She's almost 38, on dating apps, beautiful woman, so she definitely gets hit on, but she's never been married and is still single. Her choice, it's something with her. Let me stop you right there. There's so much to work with here. Let's get right into it. Before we start, I'm Brittany Temple. I'm a language professor and general word enthusiast, junkie, as I identified in the last video, my first video. And this is Let Me Stop You Right There, where I am stopping conversations to dissect language that is aimed at single, child-free women. In my first video, I just gave you a rundown of what to expect, so if you missed that, hop on back and check it out. Today, we're cracking into the material, okay? Class is in session. Gather around. A couple aesthetic things to address first. Yes, this is a very high-tech microphone that I'm working with. I don't know, when I watched the video back last week, I felt so silly. Pinching the little mic, my pinky would just kind of go up. It felt like such a silly little pinch. And I thought, wouldn't it be funny if I just attached this little microphone to something? So that's what I did. I attached it to a hairbrush. And I like it. Who knows? Maybe I'll change it up every episode and get creative. We'll see. I do like this brush though. Also, one of my friends who graciously watched my first video, love you, she pointed out that you all couldn't properly see Bigfoot behind me. And so I feel the need to draw attention to his fine form. You may or may not know this, but I was once engaged to Bigfoot. This sign was from our engagement party, and I used to have a quote dedicated to him on it. But then he disappeared into the woods, and I never saw him again. So, back to single life. Anyway, back to the unpacking of rhetoric, and specifically rhetoric that is about and used towards and against single child-free women. I wanted to start with this text because, as I told you in the first video, I'm going to use real examples from my life, things people say to me, things I experience. I wanted to use examples that were real to give color to the situation. This is rhetoric in action. So, that was a text message that one of my very closest friends sent to me. Okay, so we're going to start with context. When we're talking about rhetoric, we're going to have typically those three categories that we crack into: context, subtext, and text. The text, obviously, is what we are literally looking at, the words that are used. The subtext is that deeper layer of potential meaning that is underneath the surface. And context is the situation. Context forms the circumstances of which we are able to assess what was said. It essentially sets the terms for how we can understand what is being said. So again, this context is a text message that I received from a close friend, and that friend happens to be a guy. I know. In my defense, my male friends have been vetted over the years. If I'm still close with them now, I like to think that they are decent. I will say I don't believe this person had malicious intent. We are very close. We talk quite freely with one another, and he was obviously exercising some frustration. But we're not really investigating him specifically today, right? We're investigating the words. This sentiment that he expressed is not uncommon for single people to hear. And specifically what we're investigating here is how these types of comments, the rhetoric, perpetuates stereotypes about single child-free women. Or even one step further, shapes cultural opinions, attitudes, and conversations that we have about single child-free women. So, context. This friend of mine was admittedly throwing a bit of a fit. That was the last text message in a series of text messages where he had expressed a serious frustration with a woman he had gone out with, and he did ask for a second date, but she was giving him the runaround about setting that up, being flaky and unclear on her schedule. He did immediately recognize out loud to me that what I was thinking as well, that she's just not interested, and she wasn't going to take the initiative to just say that in one way or another. But he was feeling sensitive, and he lashed out in an emotional way, as men do. Anyway, the social context of this is that it's a casual conversation between friends. So now that we've set the context, let's back it up and look at the text and the subtext. And I am laughing because in his defense, he did begin the statement with, "Here's where I'll be a little judgmental." Very self-aware of him. Again, I'm aware that he's frustrated But let's back it up to the text. So after he says that he's about to be judgmental, he says, she's almost 38, on dating apps, beautiful woman, so she definitely gets hit on, but she's never been married and still single. Her choice, it's something with her. Oh, Lord. First of all, keep in mind, too, that he's saying this, and he knows me well. We've been friends for years. He's saying this to me, I'm about to be 37, and I've never been married. That's part of why it gave me such pause when he said it to me, because I was like, whoa, dog. Do you understand who you're saying this to? You're describing me to me. I was not offended, though, and we'll get into that. There is a lot to unpack in the entire message, but, I'm trying to keep these episodes reasonably short, so I'm not going to undress the whole statement here, piece by piece, but I do want to focus on the end. At the end, he says, her choice, it's something with her. That's a literal text, right? Her choice, it's something with her. That's the text. So let's talk about the subtext then. What is the subtext potentially revealing? Some people like to think of subtext in terms of what is called the iceberg theory, where the text is the visible part of the iceberg, and the subtext is all that's beneath the surface of the water. You don't know until you look. So if we dunk our heads under the icy water here for a moment to take a look at the rest of the iceberg, what it reveals is he is structuring this statement to put the blame on the woman he had gone on the date with. It's her fault she's still single. Her choice, it's something with her. But we know from all the texts that came before it, there was a frustration, right? Because if you just take those words by themselves without the rest of the text and even the context, it's kind of benign. And again, I think it reveals this generally accepted attitude that it is a single woman's fault that she is, in fact, single and child-free, which has that negative connotation. I honestly even think that based on the tone, you can literally sub that statement in. It's her fault. Her choice. It's her fault. Especially the part where he ends with, it's something with her, is funny because just before that, he said her choice. That's the something. She's choosing to not go on a second date with you. Choice. You almost had it. It was right there. And then you just kept going. And remember, he admitted he was being judgmental, so we are certain of that negative connotation happening here. It's not a guess. And as a single woman over the age of 30, I am quite familiar with this type of subtext. I am familiar with this perspective emerging in conversation. It's her fault. It's her problem. She must be doing something to repel romantic suitors. What we can also gather from the subtext is this person's desire, the speaker, to drive her disinterest back up on her. We're working with rhetoric here, and the way that he said that to me, the rhetoric of that statement is suggesting that she has a problem, and that problem is going to keep her single. This is where I take issue, this idea that we have created a less than desirable life because we have not found a partner to marry or have not started a family. This idea that single women, single child-free women are acting foolishly by bathing in their own misery or misandry, and that has resulted in a single life of which they are desperate to escape from. Single is just a relationship status. It's something I check on my tax form. Not for nothing, while we're on the subject of relationship status, I know for a fact there are people who are married and they feel single. And I don't mean that they're cheating on their spouse. I mean that there is a major disconnection at play between them and their spouse. Marriage does not guarantee love. It does not guarantee safety. It does not guarantee happiness, fidelity, emotional security, partnership. It doesn't guarantee anything except for the legal binding that it creates. So maybe the something with her, the something with me, the something with you, is that she's not suffering fools. And not for nothing, single women are like women in STEM as far as I'm concerned. We are data scientists. We are hitting the streets, collecting the data, adjusting our hypotheses, and trying to move forward. Just remember that single is merely a relationship status and holds no moral value. I'll bet you can think of some of the worst people you know right now. Think of them. Get them in your head. Think about the worst person you know. Are they married? I can think of some people that I don't like and they're married. Some truly terrible people. Oh, yeah. I know people go into marriage with a lot of hope, but what is true is that nothing is guaranteed in this life. Not a marriage, not health, not happiness. Real dark, but we're not even guaranteed to live through tomorrow. So if you're a single person and the next time somebody tries to throw your single status back in your face in some kind of negative way, backhanded way, something that makes you feel, just a bit of an ick inside, just tell them, let me stop you right there. While we're on the subject of partners, how is it working out with the guy you met at a keg party back in 2009? Has he learned to do the laundry yet? Just curious.